reading him the instructions as we done past.
5,000 steps is an understatement. Last week Vincent counted 1,970 on the descent from Flex to the riverbed, and there are almost as many going up the opposite side of the valley. This is the first leg of the route that we are doing today. The second leg takes us down into the Barranca del Infierno, where the old steps have been worn away, making it a very rough descent. Good steps are encountered again as we ascend the other side up to the deserted hamlet. Our third descent is less steep, with steps at the start, but the final ascent up to the road of above Benimoral is long, hard and steep, on what will feel like an endless treadmill of steps. The final walk down the road and farm tracks and by oasis at Benimoral will make the last leg a real pleasure.
And across the valley, we can just make out a line of steps going up the other side. Unusually for a Marara group, we have 18 persons today. After heavy rain, the waterfall does become quite an interesting sight. But we've had no rain for such a long time now, but it's just dry. We've now passed up a long section of staircase and we're into this small ravine that leads us higher up before turning left over a shoulder. And at last we've got to the large finca, which is being restored. We'll make a nice rest place for a quarter of an hour where we can have an early lunch. Lunch break number 1 is being held at the old finca before we make the long descent down into the Val di Infierno. heading down towards the Branco dell'Inferno and down the actual roughest part of the whole route.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. So they get.
And has it done that one yet?
Well, it's possible for next autumn sometime.
And still we're descending diagonally down into the Branco dell'Inferno. If we look down into the Branco and across the other side, it's possible we can just see our track zigzagging its way back up the track we have to follow. This has been a little sight to gladden our hearts on the descent to the Val d'Inferno.
That's right, yeah.
We've achieved the bottom where the river comes through. We're now following the side of the river upstream a little and looking for our path that goes off to the left on down that uphill section. The steepest part of the climb up this side is now over, and we shortly come back onto Mozarabic steps again. By a small ruined Finkers, this old well still has water in it, probably useful for the animals in the summer. Well, we've done the second of the 3 Brancos and we're up at the old deserted hamlet. Seems a very interesting place with a number of old finkers and casitas in various stages of repair. An era where they thresh the corn that we're looking at this moment. And of course a number of old wells.
We can try it with the Minova. And
Oh, right. Smashing.
we can have a little tasting.
A litre. Loose. We're a bottle. No, loose.
Perhaps you could call this ancient and modern. Another couple of rooms here, but it looks as if the roof is in need of some repair. So some like to have their lunch in the sunshine, and others prefer the shade. We now leave the old village and make for the 3rd Branco. Some of the party are going to split off at this point and follow a slightly easier track round. Well, there are the 3 that are taking the long track back, and the rest of us are dropping down into our last Branco.
That's quite cute.
Hmm.
Walk along.
Well, we're nearly now at the bottom of our last barranco. Once we finally reached the bottom, we had a long, long ascent up the other side. The path is slightly overgrown in places. We're now looking back at the valley that we've descended from the old deserted hamlet, which can be seen top centre. We've come all the way down to this valley underneath us now, and we're now coming up through the gorse on this side. Quite a long way to go yet.
Follow it up, and then there's a rounded one near the top, and at the peak of that rounded knoll there, there's a little dark mass, and that's where they are.
We've just managed to spot three that turned off on the other track. We can just see them in the distance. Three little specks on that hillside, about in the centre of the picture now. The upper work is now all done, and from here on it's plain sailing downhill all the way, first of all down to Bennymorel to the bar, where we shall no doubt have a short stop, and then the nice walk down the country lane down to flex at our cars. Oh, we're now on the road heading down towards Bennymorel. No wonder everybody's speeded up somewhat. We're just coming into the village of Bennymorel. And there's the bar oasis. Both parties met up very successfully, and we've had a very pleasant half an hour or so in the bar. We now have the sort of half to 3/4 an hour walk back down to Flex. It would appear that most of the people have thoroughly enjoyed, if not the walk, at least the half an hour in the bar. They have some very good beer and some very potent wine in this bar. I think even the coffee is very strong as well. On our way back we passed the locals at Bennymorel, hand stitching shoes.
Busy making these shoes.
On our way back down we passed Bennymorel's village wash house. Not used so often, but it is used by a certain number of the villagers. Not far from Flex now. Now back at the Flex wash house. The people are appreciating the last drink of lovely fresh spring water before the last 300 or 400 yards back to our cars. Well, finally, the route was finished here at the Flex. It has in fact taken approximately 8 hours.
During our walks in the mountains